Cathie Wood and cryptocurrency. Those are words that we have heard in the same sentence a lot over the past year, but mostly in the context of Bitcoin. Not so much Ethereum, and certainly not other projects in the market. Well, recently, Cathie Wood has been sharing her latest thoughts based on today's data about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and where she sees both projects headed from here. Are they going higher? Or is this the end of the current cycle? Hi and welcome back. My name is Tom Heavey. I hope you're doing well. So I'm not going to make you wait. Instead, let's just jump straight into this first clip with Cathie.
I want to know what your view is. Is it only Bitcoin, or are you looking at other options as well in the digital currency space?
Yeah. So just from a high level and backing up a bit, when the internet was conceived, commerce wasn't even a thought. In fact, consumers in the US could not use the internet legally until 1991, when we passed a Telecommunications Act. I was surprised to hear, Steve Case reminded me of that when he gave a presentation about a year ago. And so the payments part of the commerce platform was never built into the internet from the beginning, from the get-go. No one thought commerce would take place and so what happened is commerce evolved with traditional credit cards, debit cards, and so forth. Now we are seeing the payments platform, the financial services infrastructure being built into the ecosystem. It's called DeFi, decentralized finance, thanks to blockchain technology. And we do believe, we're not a Bitcoin maximalist firm at all. I know that Yassine El-Mandra, who hails from Morocco, he came into the firm fresh from school, the University of Pennsylvania, and seemed a little bit maximalist to me. But we have gotten through that. And now we also have investments in Ether and ETH, which is the grayscale version of it, in certain of our portfolios that will allow it. And Ether, of course, or Ethereum is the platform upon which most of DeFi is taking place, as well as stablecoins and NFTs. So we see Bitcoin as the first truly digital global currency, but it is more than that. It is the first global monetary system. And my mentor and now friend, Art Laffer, who was educated by Robert Mundell, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics for global monetary theory, we took him through our first white paper on Bitcoin. This was in 2015. And we were simply saying, could Bitcoin serve the three roles of money: means of exchange, store of value, unit of account? Paper's still on our site. And he tore our paper up. He's an economist. He was not going to put his name to anything that didn't meet his standards in terms of monetary theory. And we ended up, I said, just to give you a sense of how profound this was in 2015, I said, Art, how big could this become? And he said, and at that time, Bitcoin was $6 billion in market cap. Today, it's probably 750 billion. I said, Art, how big could this become? And he said, well, how big is the US monetary base? And at that time, it was 4.5 trillion. And today, it's 8 trillion. So that was his first answer. And that only has to do with its reserve currency role, which it is. It's the reserve currency of the crypto asset ecosystem. But there are other use cases. And we believe that ultimately everybody, every high net worth individual will take out at least 5% or put 5% of his or her assets in crypto, probably Bitcoin getting the lion's share because it is the most secure network. It is the most secure network, bar none. Ethereum has been built primarily on GPUs, not ASICs like the Bitcoin blockchain. So for DeFi, it's fine. For you put up collateral. There are a lot of safety measures on it. But for network safety, pure and simple, where you want that insurance policy, Bitcoin is probably going to get it.
On the topic of storage of wealth, how can we consider an asset as a means to store wealth when we've seen half of it destroyed virtually in a matter of months? So the concept of storage of wealth with an asset that drops 50% seems mind-boggling to
Yes.
a lot of us.
Well, last September, it was at $10,000 to $12,000. So we're not even a year, and we're triple that. So really, endpoint sensitivity matters here. And I do think this is right now very, very new to a lot of people. You have a lot of hedge funds, a lot of traders. They're chart watchers. So be prepared. If it breaks moving averages, then it's going down lower until they feel that it's gone down. So you have to be prepared for that. And what we do is we lie in wait for those opportunities when there's a freak out. And that was a freak out, of course. And we bulk up then, just know it's going to happen. And that over time, if we're right on how important Bitcoin will become as the crypto world's reserve currency, then it will continue to appreciate and its purchasing power will go up, unlike fiat currency.
Now, Cathie, we've reached the end of the hour, but maybe just for the sake of our audiences, could you give us the good graces of your price target on Bitcoin?
Yes, well, with very few use cases, we can see it at $500,000. And we get there any of a number of ways, but one of the ways is institutional asset managers are moving in now, and they have to have a point of view because crypto assets are the first new asset class since the 1600s, since equities. And the correlation of relative returns, just take Bitcoin to all other assets, very low. The biggest or the highest correlation is to real estate, 0.34, right, for vis-a-vis Bitcoin. So institutions, they have to have a point of view on this new asset class. And we do believe, just like real estate in the 70s and 80s, and then emerging markets in the 80s and 90s, even though that was not technically a new asset class, they started out with 1-2% positions, moved to 5%, and at 5% of institutions around the world allocated 5%, and let's just say it were towards Bitcoin, that use case alone would get us to $500,000.
So Cathie describes Bitcoin as the first truly global monetary system. She shares her belief that every high net worth individual will someday put at least 5% into crypto, mostly towards Bitcoin. And she believes Bitcoin could someday be worth as much as $500,000 or even more. This stuff is not new though. We've been talking about this for years now. For me, what's really interesting is her thoughts on Ethereum. We've heard her talk about Ethereum and DeFi before, but it's really rare that she goes into so much detail. Now, if you've been following me on this channel for a few years, you might know that the first reason I got into crypto was because of a friend of mine telling me about the potential uses that Ethereum could someday create. Now, back in 2017 when I got into it, those were really just ideas. Fast forward to 2021 though, today, and these are turning into real use cases. Stablecoins, for example, allow people to hold a cryptocurrency which tracks the price of the dollar. So you get the ease of sending money across borders that crypto offers, while having the relative stability of the US dollar. Now, of course, we can debate just how stable the dollar is long term, but at least on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't jump up or down by 5%. In fact, stablecoins are so useful that the US government used one of the most popular coins called USDC to send foreign aid to Venezuela in 2020. Again, in 2017, most of this was theoretical. Just 3 years later, and the US government has publicly used one of these stablecoins. And these stablecoins, they're really just part of a much larger movement called decentralized finance, or DeFi for short. What is DeFi? To keep it simple, DeFi is about building products on a blockchain that offer the same services as regular financial companies. So, for example, banks offer lending and borrowing. DeFi is building alternatives to banks on a blockchain, creating a truly global and fairer system. When I first talked about DeFi and shared why I was invested, it was just over a year ago, back on June 1st, 2020. At the time, the market was worth just $1.1 billion. Today, however, it has grown to $58 billion. Even in spite of a dip in recent months, that is over a 50 times growth in just 1 year. And again, many of the projects involved were simply ideas back in 2017. Today, however, they are real functioning products that have over 1 million users and over $50 billion worth of usage. This is why I'm so interested in cryptocurrency. For me, Bitcoin is really interesting. It's a challenge to gold, to the monetary base, and it's something the world has never seen before. Ethereum, though. This is the platform where the next wave of disruption in the world will come from. Now let's hear Cathie's thoughts on where the market is today. In particular, an answer to a really important question. If Cathie believes that deflation is coming, which we know she does, why would she hold Bitcoin? Isn't Bitcoin only to protect against inflation? Let's hear her thoughts.
And then finally, I just want to, on the crypto side, address a question that we've been getting quite frequently. You can tell how convinced we are that deflation is the higher probability. And we know that's way out of consensus, and that's where we like to be. But many wonder how we could be positive at all about Bitcoin if we're not worried about inflation. Well, I think 08, 09 is a very good reason why. Why did 08, 09 almost melt the financial world down? It did so because of counterparty risk. And what we've just seen in the crypto market is really interesting. It's been cut in half, 2 trillion to 1 trillion, the ecosystem, in the last few months. Just cut in half. Can you imagine what would happen if our equity prices, bond prices were cut in half in the span of a few months with all the leverage out there? I think we'd be in a counterparty risk problem again, a big mess. Maybe not as big of a mess as we were in 08, 09, because there have been some changes. But I do not believe that our financial world would withstand a 50% drop as easily as the DeFi world has. DeFi, while a lot of people who were leveraged 100 times elsewhere in the world were wiped out, I think, now I'm going to get this number wrong, it was either 86,000 or 860,000 accounts wiped out. DeFi didn't skip a beat. I don't think we could say that for the traditional financial world. And I do think that's why the shift towards DeFi, helped now by central banks moving into stablecoins and legitimizing digital currencies, even though that's very different from Bitcoin. I do think we're going to accelerate further and faster into the DeFi world. And that too is very exciting. And as you know, if Bitcoin's price on a trend basis, remember, we're still a triple since last September. We may have been cut in half, but we were still a triple since last. And if the price continues to move up, what does that mean? That means increased purchasing power, which is what deflation is. So very consistent with our view of the world.
So, those are Cathie's thoughts on crypto today. For me, I think it's inevitable that someday DeFi will be the primary financial system in the world. It won't happen in months or even years. It may take decades. But when something has such ridiculous potential as this, personally, I'm happy to hold it for years. But I'm interested to know what you think. Do you think DeFi will someday replace the traditional financial system? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again very soon.